I kind of begrudgingly respect just the dedication to not getting better at what you do for a living. Just coast through life.
It probably shouldn't even happen.
If you got it, you got to flaunt it, Acid.
You know what? I got a lot of stuff that I don't want to flaunt, and so I just keep it to myself.
Jeremy is really big into the used mattresses. That's an excellent deal.
He has a used mattress store on the side. And we found out that Anthony's friends are all 13-year-old boys. Nice.
Whoever wins gets Acid's ball soap.
Clay, how you doing?
Doing a little more poorly after that terrible, terrible introduction. I was just fine, to be honest with you.
Hello, Sci-Fi Gangsters. This is the show where we talk about video games, comic books, and science fiction. But really, it's just an excuse for me to catch up with my friends. I'm Anthony Nadar, media scholar. And today, the topic, we're going to talk about we're going to pitch your Star Trek series. If you could pitch a Star Trek series, the next one to come up, what would that be? We're going to each do two of our own little pitch here. And we'll sort of have a conversation about that. But first, you may notice that if you're watching, I'm wearing my Star Trek uniform. That's because I'm cold in my house, and this jacket's very warm. And also, the amount of money that I spent on this Starfleet jacket demands that I wear it as much as possible. So I broke it out. I'm wearing it. I wore it during our Star Trek Adventures episode last week. And then I'll probably wear it again next time we do a Star Trek Adventures. But let's go ahead and get to our guest here. We'll start out with Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm a bit warmer than you are probably. But it was cold earlier today.
It was a cold one at 8 a.m. walking to campus. It was like 15 degrees. It was not an enjoyable thing. I always forget how cold below freezing is. Like, we get it every once in a while down here in Alabama. Obviously, I grew up in Northern Virginia, so I grew up with very cold weather. But man, it's like you always forget. You always get spoiled with how cold it is. But anyways, moving on to the producer of the show, and that's Acidtrain. Acid, how you doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm cold as well. We got a fire going on in the fireplace. About 20 buses didn't crank this morning because it was so cold. So we had to deal with that. And but so, it was a good day. Good day so far.
Good day, busy day. Always busy good to hear. Of course,
always busy.
My office it is in Miller Hall at Auburn University, and Miller Hall is now closed due to mold. So I can't get into my office. I can't get to the things that were in my office. So now I have no office. I've been put in the kitchen in Titchener Hall. They gave me a bunch of locations. So like, would you like to share this office with this person or sit here in the car? I was like, and then she's like, and I can put you in the kitchen. Yeah, put me in the kitchen. Yeah, I'll just put me in there. I can just hang out with the food. I'm happy. Right, so I was hanging out.
So working from home wasn't an option.
Working from home was not an option. Going home without your office hours was not an option. So, but that's just the way things are. So I'm hanging out in the kitchen, waiting for students not to come by. But always good to have a temporary office in the kitchen there. But anyways, today our topic one more time is, pitch your Star Trek series that you want to see next. But first, let's go ahead and catch up a little bit. It's been a while since we've talked with each other. Obviously, we did Star Trek Adventures, but we haven't really had a chance to chat. Kind of took the holidays off or back on it. But what's new with you? I think the big news or the big thing that happened recently with me is yesterday, Victor fractured his arm.
Oh,
he fractured his wrist. He came in.
Did he win the fight?
He did not. He did apparently not. Right? So he came in crying, and of course, when a kid comes in crying, you're like, you got hurt, you're okay. And then he was talking about his wrist and everything, and I was like, oh, well, maybe let's just get this check. Let's check it out. So he went to urgent care, the one where they have the X-ray. Found out that it was in fact fractured. So he had another orthopedic clinic thing today. right? So, but doctor's appointment today, and he has a little fancy little cast, one of those things where you can kind of screw it tighter.
Oh yeah.
So he's got one of those on his wrist, and he's good to go. Right, so he's done for basketball. It seems like this season. Obviously, he was doing basketball. Maybe he's done doing that. We'll see in a couple of weeks if he can sort of play with the cast. Which I know sometimes you can sort of play with sports with the cast, but yeah, there you go. That's the most recent thing. It's funny when I always get very frustrated when I go to the doctor because I always feel like there's a lot of BS that happens at the doctor's office. So this is an example. I went to the urgent care because it's Martin Luther King Day, so our normal primary care was closed. So we went to urgent care. We go in there. I do the whole paperwork thing, which is always a big hassle, right? Because you got to do that every time you go to somewhere new. And it's all online. And then I go, so the clerk, the person at the desk says, Mr. Nar, you need to pay your copay. And I was like, okay, yeah, I was expecting that. And I was like, she's like, that'll be $50. I was like, $50? And she's like, how much do you usually pay for copay? And I was like, well, usually $35. And she's like, okay, that's fine. It's like, what are we?
Okay, that's fine.
What are we doing here? What?
She wanted a tip.
Negotiation with the copay?
She flipped that iPad around and said, if you'd like to leave a tip as well.
Yeah. Oh, that was part of the tip. Okay. Yeah. But she ended up charging me $50 anyways. So hopefully we'll get reimbursed with. This is a lot of stuff when it comes to, you pay your health insurance, but you still have to pay so much out of pocket anyways. It can be very frustrating. But
it's almost like insurance is a racket.
It's crazy.
It most certainly could be. I could definitely, I agree with that. But yeah, that was kind of new with me. Jeremy, what's new with you?
Same old. Just work for the most part. I have a long list of things to read and watch at some point in the future, but today is not that day.
Of course, I've been watching I've been reading The Three Body Problem, obviously recommended by many people, and I think I'm in page 70, and it just started getting good. Like there's something that happens in the book where I'm like, because at first it's a lot of like, okay, this is kind of interesting what we're setting up here, but I'm not sure where this is going. And then all of a sudden some interesting things start to happen. And you're like, oh, this is very interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to read that. Do you have any books on the, what books are you planning on reading, Jeremy?
I have several nonfiction books I am reading, but fiction-wise, I'm going to reread through the Witcher series, I think.
All right. Well, there you go. Sounds like a fun reading for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ash, so what's new with you?
Not much. We went to Jacksonville, Florida this past weekend. For a funeral. So it wasn't a funeral. He, Mike is the guy's name. He passed away a few months ago, but he donated his body to science.
Oh, wow.
So the University of Florida or Florida State, one of those, they got it. They got the cadaver, and they're going to have it for 2 years. And that is when, I guess, cremation happens after that, and they'll send the cremated remains to the spouse or loved ones or whatever, however that works. But it was a celebration of life ceremony, so we went down there for that. It's very nice. It was an open bar. It's the strangest celebration of life I've ever been to. Never been to a funeral type situation where there was an open bar, but hey, I'm not complaining. It was good. A lot of folks came, big turnout. Saw some family. This was my wife's family side, so got to see some of her folks, and got a new car. Not a new car, but another car. So we got a car while we were down there. His car, actually. So we bought it from her and drove back on Sunday, and here we are. We're back at it, on the grind, doing the work stuff.
All right. Well, very good. So definitely an eventful weekend for all of us here today. Let's go ahead and get to our topic. Today's topic, one more time, is, pitch your Star Trek series. If you were in charge, if the studio came to you, Jeremy, and said, pitch us your Star Trek series, what would that be? And I think we all have two basic ideas of what we would like to see. Obviously, some of us like the newer stuff more than others, right? I think I've already expressed my opinions on Star Trek Picard. Hated the first 2 seasons. Third season was pretty good with some issues. I do like Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I am a fan of Strange New Worlds, although there are canon issues that I don't like, and there are a couple of dramatic elements to the series that I'm not 100% on board with. But for the most part, I do like Strange New Worlds. Even with the sort of like the corner that they've painted themselves into with Discovery, with some of these are legacy characters where you're really messing with canon if you start changing things, and then everything with like Christopher Pike and his destiny and everything like that. But anyways, for the most part, do like Strange New Worlds. Discovery, I'm not 100% on board with. I've tried to like it. I've watched all the episodes. I've liked moments. I think some of my major complaints with Star Trek Discovery, it would take too long to kind of get into it. But I know Jeremy, not a big fan of Discovery. I don't think you've really... Have you seen Strange New Worlds both seasons?
No, just the first season.
Okay, so Strange New World, the second season, I liked. I thought it was very enjoyable. I know you don't like Discovery or the Discovery that you've seen. I think you have the same opinion on when it comes to Star Trek Picard. Or are you more positive when it comes to Star Trek Picard?
No, I am significantly more positive on Picard for the most part. There are lazy story arcs in Picard, but by and large, I thought it felt much more like Star Trek than Discovery or Strange New Worlds, really.
I don't know if I buy that argument. I really did. I think Picard season 1 and 2 is some of the worst Star Trek that I've ever seen. Just flat out, just the worst written. Some poorly acted parts in there as well. Some cringy moments in season 2 that are really bad. Even when Discovery gets bad, because Discovery does get CW drama bad. It does.
It started bad.
But
it just gets worse.
It's bad because it's messing with canon, which I get. That's also bad, but it's a different kind of bad. I think
like none of the characters are likable. The second season is just absolutely just drone on. I mean, completely pointless. Like it's not a show. Like I had to stop watching it because I couldn't bring myself to accept the fact that I had nothing better to do in life than to spend time watching that show.
Some of the major concerns I have with Star Trek Discovery, the first 2 seasons, was the fact that it was in the past and that a lot of the things were happening made absolutely no sense, that they were happening in the past. Like even the aesthetics of the ship itself made no sense, that they would look like this in the past, right? Because everything was more futuristic. There was the whole slipstream drive, whatever they call the drive thing, where they can just teleport to different parts of the universe. That doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of. I thought Discovery season 3 was much better. I thought it had promise. But yeah, anyways, Acid. I don't think you've seen any of the new stuff. So you're not familiar with anything.
No, but I do take exception to the argument that the acting in Picard is bad, because if we're going to talk about the acting in Star Trek in general, there's a lot of bad acting all throughout all the series.
Oh yeah.
Maybe when I'm saying bad acting, I think what I mean is like the cringy moments in Star Trek Picard, and I may just be talking about when she starts singing, when she becomes the Borg and starts singing, because that is the most like physically uncomfortable I've ever been watching a Star Trek episode. Just like, why is this happening? this is horrible. I don't want to watch this anymore. I remember I turned to Alinda. I go, this is bad, right? This is, anyways. I did like Star Trek.
As Alinda's singing along
3.
to the song, she's, oh, I love this song.
Wait, it's just like it's like child wrote this. 12-year-old child wrote this bad. Like it. It's almost like she's like, I will do another season, but I need to be able to sing. At one point in the show, and that's all I could think of.
Yeah, it's bad. I think the first season is the best, but the third season,
really,
yeah. Because the third season, they completely forget to bring back a character that was integral to the show. Like, they just don't mention the fact Picard's in his first real relationship. And they just don't have her in the final episode. It makes zero sense.
Oh, yeah. I think that has more to do with the writer of season 3 was like, we're going to ignore everything that happened in season 2. Like, I think that's really what it was.
But no, that happens at the beginning of season 3. Because she's going to leave.
I think they were like, yeah, we have to sort of establish that this is the same universe, but we're moving on. That's why she's in the first episode, but we're moving on from this. I feel like there was a lot of that happening.
I mean,
especially with Data, the new Data too.
Yeah, like they could have just as easily said that they don't start a relationship then. It doesn't make any sense to have her in that episode, have them begin this relationship, and then she gets mentioned throughout the season, but then they just don't wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think season 3 does have its issues. There's a lot of glaring issues. Once again, I think I've mentioned this many times, but the whole, like, the changelings are the villain. So are the Borg. Like the last 2 episodes. Oh, the Borg are too much of a hat on a hat. I felt like it really took away from the changeling, like the idea that we have a separate faction of changelings that are going to be the new big bad makes a whole lot of sense canon-wise. Yes, a couple of years after the Dominion War, they would come back, right? So the idea that the Borg are also involved, it doesn't make any sense at all. Anyways.
So what you're trying to say is that this show should have never have happened.
I think Picard season 3. I think if you today, right now, Acid, if you were interested in Picard season 3, I would say, or Picard in general, the series, I would say just watch season 3. Treat it as a TNG movie. Is it a good TNG movie? It has good moments, but I feel like it tries doing too much. It tries tacking things on when it's not necessary, right? So like the whole like the Borg are secretly, the changelings secretly infiltrated the Starfleet, which is okay, cool. All right, here we go. But they were doing it for the Borg. What? Oh, why? Okay, why? It doesn't. Anyways, so that's my main complaint when it comes to Picard season 3. I do think Stranger Worlds is a good show.
But
I think the first 2 seasons are good.
So how is I know it's the animated, but how is Below Decks? Have y'all seen that?
I have not seen Below Decks. I know they have that. Is it the cross? They have the crossover episode in Stranger Worlds, which I thought was going to be a disaster because they start Strange New Worlds, they begin it with the animation, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to go horribly, but it's fun. It's a fun episode. The crossover between Lower Decks and Stranger Worlds, it's a fun episode. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like Below Decks. It's one of those things that I'll turn on in the background, but it is like if you sit down and watch it, I do still feel like I have better things to do. Like it's not quite to the level of I'm going to devote time to this, but like I'll have it on in the background sometimes.
All right. So we sort of established where Star Trek is now by talking about it. Acid has no idea what we're talking about when it comes to the
What's Star Trek? I don't know what this is.
There you go. But so let's pitch our Star Trek series. And my first one, we have two. My first one is you start where Picard season 3 left off. You do the Captain 7 show. I think that's the bit. I said it from the very beginning. When 7 of 9 popped up in season 1 of Picard, I said she was the best part of the whole series. Like, this right here was cool. I liked 7. And I feel like that character, we can branch out a little bit. There's more to say about that particular character, especially since she's sort of like progressing to become more human, more expressive, and you put her in a leadership position, which is kind of interesting. Can she handle being captain of a starship? And you can keep many of the same crew people. You can also add more people in there if you want to, add some interesting characters. I do feel like if you do the 7 of 9 captain, by the way, I think this is worth mentioning one more time. I feel like the showrunners missed a huge opportunity when they renamed the ship the Enterprise, when they should have renamed the ship the Picard. Yeah, it's just there. It's right there for you. They did it to honor Picard, but they called it the Enterprise. Call it the Picard, then you can keep the show name. It's still Star Trek Picard, but it's about the ship. Makes so much sense. But anyways, you keep the ship, you call it the Picard. And it's sort of like his legacy, but he's not in the show. You can do guest appearances if you want to. You can have guest appearances from the other TNG cast if you want to, but you center it on this new crew. And you have to give some new thing for them to do. Don't bring back the Borg. Don't bring back any old villain, unless it's like a villain that hasn't been explored. Because TNG did this with the Klingons, right? It took a species that was sort of introduced in a previous Star Trek, but explored the culture, expanded the Klingons. Deep Space Nine did the same thing with the Cardassians, so on and so on and so on. You do it again. So whether they're in a different part of space, if it's at a space station, if it's at a planet, maybe they're protecting a planet, right? Whatever it is, it needs to be something new with a new villain, not a big bad, right? Not like a clone of Picard bad. Like, no, not that. A new alien race where you have a conflict. Maybe it's not like a war conflict, but like a diplomatic conflict. And you have the Picard being the flagship of this new conflict. You introduce new crew people, but don't make the mistake of bringing in other legacy characters. I think 7 works if it's just 7, unless it's another legacy character that didn't get enough, right? So Ezri Dax, someone like that, or another character that was on another show that just didn't get enough airtime, story time, right? You can keep Captain Picard's son if you want to and develop his character a little bit, the Crusher guy, whatever. So new cast, new crew, and you center it around a new conflict, and that's the show, right? It's not a nostalgia show, but it's like you're continuing the canon without worrying about disrupting the canon. Right. So that's my first pitch. It's Star Trek Picard, season 4, but Picard's not in it. The character's not in it. It's about the ship. It's my first show.
I'd watch that show. I mean, yeah, I think Captain 7 or Sherry Ryan in general was definitely the most charismatic part of Picard. And yeah, I mean, they built a pretty good character in the series. There's story points that I wouldn't want to continue forward. But like if you have her and I forget the other girl's name.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good show.
Yeah, if you want to bring back Vulcan Legolas, You could bring him back too. Make him a little more interesting than he is, though. They sort of made him into like, oh, he's really good at sword fighting. Okay, oh sure, right. But like develop that character a little more. You can make him the tactical officer, which would make a whole lot of sense, right? Because then you can bring him on away missions. He'd be sort of like the Worf because he would have a sword if you wanted to do it. If you kind of want to do that stuff, as long as it's not too like Star Trek Beyond. We all know kung fu now. Like it's not as long as it's not like that.
Trained in the Matrix, we know all fighting styles.
All right, so Jeremy, let's go ahead and pitch your first show.
So the first one that I want to see is an anthology series, something that has no characters from main Star Trek series or movies in it. Really doesn't even need to tie into canon too much as far as the Enterprise is concerned. But, like I want to see an episode, set in the Q continuum and, one about the Romulans and Vulcans when they split off. Maybe one in the Romulan human war from the Romulan point of view. So I think there's a whole lot of background built up that could have some really good, one-off stories that wouldn't need to interfere with any existing canon, which I am a stickler for when they go wrong. But yeah, I think that would be a really good show or a really good idea for series. Similar to, Star Wars, The Tales of the Jedi, something similar to that. Yeah.
Actually, I'm 100% on board with that. So you could do, just like you said, those one-off episodes where you're sort of exploring the world of Star Trek, almost like What If, but like it's all canon. Like you're not saying what if, like it's different. Although you could do a mirror universe episode. Yeah. You could do, so like a what if, or like a what if sort of series of Star Trek. I'm 100% on board with that. There sort of reminds, wasn't there another series where you had a bunch of like one-off episodes that seemed to really not fit, but it sort of tied into the overarching story like that, but it like kind of jumped around a little bit to different things. I'm trying to think about what show that I'm thinking of. What's that one show where it was based off the comic? The Neil Gaiman comic?
Talking about,
you're not talking
Sandman?
about American Gods.
And I'm thinking Sandman's kind of what I'm thinking of. Where you kind of had those one-off episodes. It still kind of revolved around him a little bit. Yeah, I guess that really doesn't make not a good analogy, but all right, Acid, what do you got? Pitch your first Star Trek episode or series.
You're going to love this. Are you ready? Star Trek, the musical. No, I'm just kidding. We're not. No, you know what? I've always wanted to see, and you could do the show kind of like Foundation. You could call it Star Trek Foundations, right? And each season would focus on the different species. So you could start out with like the Ferengi, and you could like before the Ferengi came into contact with the Federation or a lot of the people that they've come into contact with. So you kind of build that foundation with the Ferengis until it gets to that, not really peak, but more to where what we know. And then the next season you do that with the Klingons and you build that up. And the next season you do that with like maybe the Romulans or whatever, but you call it Star Trek Foundations, and you just start from the ground and build its way up. And then that could branch off into, 70 more series that could possibly happen. But why not? Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from scratch. Nobody knows anybody, and get to know it once again. Fresh perspectives and fantastic camera work.
Well, very good. All of these shows sound fantastic so far. So let's go ahead and get to our second round, your second show that you want to pitch. My second show, this is not 100% original, but I thought it was a great idea because this was a show that was sort of in production for a long time, or there was conversations of this type of show. But once again, I felt like this could have been a great show, and that is Starfleet Academy. So you do Starfleet Academy, and you could do it sort of like, you have young new recruits. Maybe you could do something like with Red Squad with going on as well. So like you have the sort of the politics and the conflict between, maybe you have like just average Starfleet officers who are exceptional in their own way, but then are also sort of competing with Red Squad. Like Red Squad are like the jocks, like the a-holes, and you have that going on. But then one of the great things you could do about Starfleet Academy is, like, if something were to happen, like if they want to do like an arc where like there's a war or there's a conflict or whatever, you could use those characters as like, okay, so they're involved in this particular thing, right? Or Earth gets attacked or whatever, like so they're involved in it. But what's the best thing that you could do with Starfleet Academy? Cameos, right? Just fun. They're not part of the episode. They're not part of the series. But, you have Miles O'Brien who shows up. Maybe you want Miles O'Brien to be a recurring character. Like he's an instructor at the play. Worf comes in randomly. You see, you see Janeway walking in. Like you could have all kinds of fun with cameos. You could have one-off episodes where, you bring in a legacy character, and that legacy character sort of has like a one-on-one episode with one of the new characters, sort of like a passing the torch kind of an episode, right? And you can kind of do that. You can have a lot of fun. That way you don't have to worry about sort of committing to one legacy character, but you could just say, hey, to the person who's just watching Star Trek for the first time, this is just a teacher. It's a professor. It's a whatever. But to the Star Trek fan, no, that's Worf, right? Or that's Miles O'Brien or whatever. Like, so I feel like you get the best of the both worlds by doing that. Once again, it's not like Star Trek Picard, where you're like, he's 90 years old and he's back in on the horse. I'm like, no, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do this anymore. But it makes perfect sense that they would just be hanging around Starfleet Academy, right? So you'd have these new recruits where, once again, this is always a stickler when it comes to, for me, when it's Star Trek episodes. One of the main issues why I didn't like Star Trek Discovery. It's about the new characters that you're establishing, and you need to focus on those characters, build their arc, develop their stories, get us to like them, right? It's not about, past characters that we already know, although it'd be great to see them from time to time. So basically a Star Trek Academy series would be a whole lot of fun, because you sort of have the best of both worlds. You sort of have like a new Star Trek show, but also you can appease the studio by having young, attractive actors, right? Like it's like, yeah, you can have, it's targeted more towards like a younger audience, and you can have all that kind of stuff. But then you have like the established like Star Trek canon. There you go.
They made a game that was basically that.
Okay.
Yeah, Starfleet Academy computer game. I played it tons of times when I was young, and it had Kirk, Chekhov, and Scotty like flittering in and out throughout the game. There's also a Klingon Academy, which was not as good, but it was still fun.
Yeah, fantastic, excellent. So that's my pitch. Jeremy, what's your second show?
So my second show, I think, also was proposed at one point in time, although different than what I would want to see. And I want to see a Section 31 show with an older Bashir being fully in Section 31. But I think to do it right, it's got to be gritty. It's got to be very adult. So Paramount kind of makes those shows now, but before that, I was thinking like HBO-ish, sort of mid 2000s. It's kind of their peak TV, like that kind of writing, and I mean, you could pretty much go throughout the entirety of the world of Star Trek with it, and have stories without really affecting canon too much, because Section 31 works behind the scenes, right? So you're not necessarily changing anything. Yeah, I thought it'd be fun. And Bashir was one of my favorite characters from any Star Trek series. So I would like to see, as much as I am against always coming back to the same characters, I thought his was interesting enough to see an older version of.
Yeah, 100% on board with that show as well. I think it'd be a whole lot of fun if you did have Bashir come back, and he was sort of like, not necessarily like the show runner or whatever, like the main, you would establish a new cast, right? But he would sort of be like the sort of legacy character in the background. He's sort of directing where to go and everything. I think you can have a lot of fun with sort of asking questions about the ethics of Section 31. Are we actually doing what we're like the good thing? Like we're breaking the rules, but are we doing it for the good reasons? And that sort of, I think you can have a lot of fun with that and go in different places. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Section 31, I'm on board. Acid, what's your second?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of something Jeremy said earlier about having the Q continuum more of a focus. I would like to see a series. I would make this a series, maybe a longer movie. I don't know, but I would like to see kind of like Star Trek Eyes of the Universe, like Q's before humanity, before they were, well, I know they were aware of humanity, but before they really got to notice humanity, just kind of like the antics they were going through before, Q started to kind of, I won't say level off, but started to be a little less crazy, just to kind of see how the Q continuum worked, what they did in between, in the in-between, and how they function, and just kind of, you could kind of branch off to multiple different Qs at any given episode, just like this episode is this Q, this episode is this Q. You just kind of bounce around for 12, 13 episodes, and then each season has a kind of a nice little cliffhanger of maybe a new species, or humanity's getting that much closer to leveling them off, so to speak.
Very good. All great shows that we've pitched so far. Too bad Paramount's not listening to us and doing the kind of.
They're in the chat. Thing. Hey, just wave at Paramount. They're in the chat.
Very good. Yep. Fantastic. Excellent. I think I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think if we are going to do Star Trek Picard with Captain Seven, I think if we're going to do a new villain, it has to either be a complete new villain, or you do a species that sort of has popped up in past Star Trek episodes that really wasn't given enough screen time or really didn't dive into their culture. One example would be the Breen. So like the Breen were, sort of like kind of tacked on in the Dominion War, really didn't get to know them. But if you wanted to sort of say, establish a new villain, you could say like sort of like the Breen had expanded in that power vacuum of the Dominion, losing, and kind of
or the Kazon. You could bring the Kazon back.
Bring the Kazon. The Kazon comes from
yeah. Bring them on. Why not?
Or you could do the Hirogen if you want to do Hirogen. They found their way to the Alpha Quadrant and they're trying to hunt. Right, you could do kind of that as well if you wanted to.
Caretaker resurrected.
There you go. The Caretaker comes back.
Star Trek Resurrections.
Very good.
Bring everybody
back. Neo shows up. Wrong Resurrections. But very good. Excellent. Of that, so we sort of pitched our shows. Tell us what you think. What would you pitch? Like and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. How do you want to end this episode? Should we just end it?
I don't know. You're the host. You're supposed to tell us.
I don't know if you guys wanted to do the name that Star Trek character or not.
Oh, yeah, we can.
I don't know if I have one.
Could do one each.
We'll do one each. And that'll be it. I got to think of one real quick.
I'm trying to think of who we haven't done before.
I know we've done quite a few. I'm trying to think. Still trying to think.
Experience China.
No, we've done that one before. Oh, wait. I think I might have one.
Okay, got some little background music.
We're doing a hard one?
That doesn't matter. You can just do one. Mine's gonna be Dr. Danar.
That's
Coming soon to be edited on this amazing YouTube channel here. Coming soon. Star Trek Adventures, fully edited.
okay. I have one. This one is a hard one. This is a one that you might not get.
Okay.
All right. So am I going first then?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna turn that down.
All right. Go ahead and ask your questions.
Is it a Starfleet officer?
No.
It is not a Starfleet officer. Is this character from The Next Generation?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it from the first half of the seasons or the second half?
First half.
First half, Next Generation. Okay. Is this character male?
No.
No. Okay.
Is it humanoid?
Yes.
Does this character find Commander Riker attractive?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Probably not.
Okay. One of his conquests.
But I don't remember.
I was trying to narrow it down a little bit.
Is the character a human female?
Yes.
Is this character under the age of 30?
Like the actress?
No. The character itself. Character. Okay, well, I'll ask this. Is the character younger than 40?
Yes.
Okay. So not a grandmother.
Is she in more than one episode?
No.
Oh gosh.
I don't know why this character popped up in my mind. I was like, okay, let's go with this route.
One episode. Related to any Star Trek character?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
She related to someone on the bridge crew?
Yes. She is related to someone who served on the bridge.
Okay. Related to someone who served on the bridge. Female, under 40. Not in Starfleet.
This might have been too hard.
I'm trying to think of a good question.
I have a guess, but if it's not her, I have no idea.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead and guess. Go ahead.
Is it Ashara?
Holy crap.
It was
Ashara Yar?
When you
Ashara
said
Wow.
Who served on the bridge is what gave it away.
Well done. I didn't even think about that.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. One episode. You're right. That was good.
Okay.
That was good.
Who's
Well done.
next?
Go ahead, Jeremy. You can do.
Mine will be considerably easier.
Okay. That's good.
Asha Yar. Okay, so I'm gonna go with TNG.
No.
DS9.
No.
Voyager.
No.
OG.
Ish.
Oh, okay.
So OG movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Man, I don't remember any of the character names.
Oh, wait. It is OG actual movie, not newer movie with OG characters.
Ooh. So not the reboot.
Oh, yeah. Those don't exist to me.
Okay. No, not the reboots. No, I'm talking about what was it, Star Trek with the Nexus, whatever that one was, like Generations and that.
Generations?
Yeah.
It is not Generations.
Okay.
Female.
No.
Human.
Oh.
No.
What'd you say?
Not a human.
So by not human, do you mean
It means not
humanoid? Like humanoid?
Humanoid, but not human race.
Right.
Vulcan.
Yes.
Related to anybody on the cast?
Yes.
In Starfleet?
No.
So I have a guess, but I don't know the character's name. Is it Spock's brother?
Cybok? Yes.
It's Cybok. There you go. Very good. Excellent. All right, Acid, what do you got?
Hang on. Oh, okay. I got it.
All right, Jeremy, go ahead and kick us off.
Starfleet officer?
No.
TNG?
Yes.
Human?
No.
More than one episode?
No. No.
First half of the series?
Oh gosh. I want to say it was kind of right in the middle. I think.
Humanoid?
It's a funny question you ask. Kinda, yeah. And for all intents and purposes, sure, why not?
Oh, I have a...
Did we establish gender yet? Is it female?
Yes.
You said only one episode?
Mm.
Female?
Mm-hmm.
Is it human?
No, it is not human.
Well, let me re-ask a question. Female, not human, one episode. Did this character have a relationship with Riker?
No, not a relationship, no.
Was she ever human?
No.
Okay. There wasn't my guess.
No.
Did she have a romantic relationship with anybody in the crew?
No.
Was she rescued by the Enterprise?
No.
Humanoid.
Is half of what she is. I'll give you that hint.
The humanoid is she's half humanoid,
Half humanoid.
but she's not half human.
Right.
By
the most technical of definitions, she's half humanoid. I just looked it up.
Is it a hologram?
No, it's not a hologram.
Okay.
Like any hint I give you will just give it away.
Was the humanoid half a Federation species?
No. I'll even say this: not of any species. It's once you figure it out, you'll go, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, because right now I'm just picturing like a human top and like ethereal octopus legs or something. I have no. I don't know what it means.
Is it is part of it artificial?
Yes. I didn't think it was going to be this hard.
Half humanoid, half like artificial components.
Mm-hmm.
Female.
Mm-hmm.
Humanoid, but not human.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I think I have a guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the Borg Queen? Borg Queen?
No.
No, I thought it was Amanda. What's her name? But she
Oh,
was human.
the Q chick? No.
Yeah.
It's not her.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. This person, she did kiss Riker in 10 Forward. Only once.
Villain?
No, not a villain. Very likable character, I thought.
Wait, what?
How many guesses are we at? Does anybody keep count?
I don't know.
I'm kind of at a loss here.
I am too. Yeah.
She used me to tell you on a fat hint.
Fat hint.
She is technically related to Data.
Oh, Data's daughter?
Yes, it's Lol.
Lol.
I didn't think it was going to be that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess all
Because
the
in the
hints
end,
made
she was
sense.
female. She chose to be female.
Mm-hmm.
She is a humanoid android.
Mm-hmm.
By definition.
I think our questions were bad.
Yeah, it's the half humanoid thing that threw me.
Yeah, I was trying to, because I thought that had just given it away if I'd have just said android, because there's not very many of those.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that is our episode for today. Don't forget to check out all our videos wherever you get your podcasts on
Check 'em out.
YouTube. Also, look out for our Star Trek adventures. Watch out for those episodes. But that is it for today. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye.